Hello GT Talkers. A while ago I was mentioning testing floats. Good old-fashioned brass float that has some gasoline in it. And if you look right here, you'll see that there's a little bit of residue on the outside of the float. I'm pretty sure that's where the hole is, but we're going to test it. So what we need, a pan that nobody cares about, some liquid lubrication, and a suspicious float. And I'll show you what to do with it. First off, heat the water till it's something you don't want to hold your hand in long. We have a container of water with a few bubbles in it, which is too hot. We do not want bubbles. So we'll stir this to get rid of the bubbles. Yeah, we don't want bubbles because that's what we're trying to make with the float. Now, I'm going to try and do this and hold the camera at the same time. But the nuts and bolts of this is I'm going to drop this in there and shove it to the bottom, and then we'll be able to see where the hole is. Now, can you see the bubbles? Right where we thought they would be. Now, alright, now, the next thing we need to do is get rid of this solder plug right there. So we're going to fire up the trusty Weller and remove that solder plug so we can get rid of the old gas that's in the float. Okay, I got the plug unsoldered. However, I think I might have gotten a little more of a problem than we anticipated to start with. That hole where the solder was, it's a lot bigger than I expected it to be. Not 100% sure what we're going to do about this, but you can plainly see the two little holes that I found that was allowing gas into the float. So let's see if we can fix it. What I've done is I soldered up the big hole first. A little counterintuitive, but the reason behind it is all I need to do is be able to vent while I'm soldering the float. However, that big hole would be a pain to try and vent and solder at the same time. So the nuts and bolts of it is solder the big one first, leave yourself a little vent hole. I soldered up the other accidental vent, and now I'll solder up the last one. Okay, I'm having trouble getting the vent hole to close. You can still see it very plainly. I'll see if I can get it in focus. Right there. And I don't want to put any more solder on here than I have to because of weight. It's a float after all. So I'm going to clean up some of that solder, and then I'm going to try a little trick, putting it in some ice water and just leaving the top exposed to have it not pressurized because it keeps blowing the solder out of the hole. Alright, now what I actually did was I just set the ice cube on there, gave it a few seconds to start sucking the heat out of that brass, and the next thing I know I was able to solder, and it was about a zero pressure. I would assume that probably there was a narrow window of time to do that. Too long with the ice cube and it would start a negative, but not long enough and you still have a positive pressure. Hot water again, and we're going to put the hopefully repaired float in, and I'm going to push it to the bottom, and no bubbles! Lawrence Welk would be disappointed, but I am very happy. Hopefully I haven't added too much weight with the solder.